Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Keep the Faith online event. I'm Christina. I'm the Donor Services Coordinator here in the Pacific Northwest region of Adult and Teen Challenge, and it is my privilege to walk you through this event tonight. You are in for a big treat. We have some great testimonies coming out of the campuses across the region. We have a word from special guest Kirk Cameron, and you get to see a behind-the-scenes look at who we are and how we are evolving our comprehensive approach to recovery. So first up, we have Joseph. Joseph comes out of our Portland campus. He is a close personal friend of mine. I've had the privilege to work with him here at the regional office. He has an amazing story that he gets to share with you. Take a look.
My name is Joseph Roby, and I'm from Seattle, Washington. I grew up in a Christian home with a very solid and supporting family, loving family. I have one little brother, and both my mom and dad have done nothing but pour into me since I was young. My life before coming to Teen Challenge it was a mess. You know, I came here because my life was a wreck. Growing up, I had a good childhood, but I began to rebel at a young age. And prior to coming to Teen Challenge, I was really depressed. I was suicidal, no purpose, no drive, no will to live, and my life was just a wreck. My lowest point was probably when I was 18 years old, when I attempted to take my own life. I was just swamped with depression, anxiety, and my addiction just brought me to a place where I no longer had the will to live. My drug of choice was mainly Xanax and basically prescription painkillers. My addiction did nothing but just bring negative relationships into my life. There was bridges that burned because of my addiction that I thought never would burn, but my addiction just basically sucked the life out of all my relationships. Prior to coming to Teen Challenge, I didn't have any faith. You know, just as simple as that. I grew up in a Christian home, but I didn't know God, I didn't want to. And then once I came into Teen Challenge, this was the place where I actually learned who God was and built a relationship with Him and learned to rely on Him and lean on Him and on my own understanding. And now my faith compared to where it was prior to coming in here, it's night and day. It's probably the best decision I've ever made coming to the program. You're stretched to grow every day in the program. You know, you're around people that at times are very difficult to deal with, and you're in situations that are difficult to navigate through. But the program really molded me into a man of God. Like when I came in the program, I was a kid. I was 18 years old. And it was in the program that I learned how to become a man as a student, you know, going to work, learning things like discipline and structure. Even though the program was very difficult, I probably saw the most growth I've ever seen in my life, just within the span of 12 months. Life now is much different than it looked like when I walked through the doors of Teen Challenge. I'm about to finish my internship here in 3 weeks. Like I mentioned, I had no purpose in my addiction. I had no purpose right when I came in the program. I doubted that God had a plan for me. And now I'm about to go back to school at the University of Washington. My relationship with my family and friends have been restored. I have built new relationships that are founded on Christ. And I have purpose, I have drive, I have a will to live. I'm able to freely give away what was freely given to me. And it's just been nothing but a privilege and an honor to be able to serve in the ministry and give back to a ministry that has helped save my life.
I mean, doesn't that smile just warm your heart? Now we're going to take an in-depth look at our comprehensive approach to recovery.
In 1958, David Wilkerson traveled to New York City to preach the gospel to teenage gangs. He quickly recognized that drug and alcohol addiction was consuming the lives of the youth. Adult and Teen Challenge was founded to address the growing addiction epidemic. And today the need is greater than ever, and everything we do always comes back to our primary mission: to make disciples. We want to put hope within reach of every addict. In 1983, Mike Hodges opened the first campus in Oregon, and now the Adult and Teen Challenge Pacific Northwest family of ministries has expanded to 5 states throughout the region. For the last 4 decades, we have been growing and refining our approach to the discipleship process. We recognize that people need more than just sobriety. They need every area of their life to be transformed by the gospel. So we offer a comprehensive approach to recovery. At the core of our ministry is our residential recovery program. When students walk through our doors, they meet Jesus. And when they meet Jesus, the transformation process begins. Within the structure of a campus and in the community of peers and our staff, they develop spiritual disciplines. They learn how to pray, how to study scripture, how to worship, and how to be lifelong disciples of Christ. And as their faith grows, they find freedom. Addiction creates complex behavioral health challenges, so we have integrated Life Renewal to provide state-approved counseling by our own professionally trained addiction counselors. Our students participate in individual and group therapy, and our counselors equip them with the tools they need to heal from their past and apply biblical principles to their lifelong recovery. We were designed to work, created to be productive. So our vocational training program helps our students establish the skills needed to be productive members of our society. Our thrift stores, work crews, and other vocational experiences teach important life skills: teamwork, leadership, stewardship, and integrity. We help students discover the joy of an honest day's work, and rather than sitting on the sidelines during their recovery, they build confidence as they put their new skills into practice. Discipleship is not just about learning the gospel, but also living it out. David Wilkerson founded this ministry on outreach, so Hope Outreach gives our students the opportunity to discover the joy of serving, to give back to their community, and to deliver hope beyond our campus walls. We work with local partners to bring compassion to our communities. Our students share their stories to bring prevention and awareness to local schools. We establish community discipleship groups for those in recovery, and we share the hope we have found in Christ through evangelism. At Adult and Teen Challenge, our comprehensive approach to recovery is allowing us to broaden our reach and improve outcomes for our students. Our comprehensive approach helps us put hope within reach of every addict and make lifelong disciples.
Although most of our campuses across the Pacific Northwest are adult campuses, we do have an adolescent girls' academy in Boise, Idaho. God is moving in mighty ways across that campus, and I want to share with you the transformation that is happening there.
So our goal basically is we're coming alongside families in their darkest moment, and we're kind of running 2 simultaneous programs where, yes, we've got to change this daughter and help parents and do everything we can to get this daughter on a different track, but we're also building up the parents and bring them in every couple months and pouring into the family because we've got to change this home.
I was a rebellious child. I was really bad in school. I was talked back. I made some really poor decisions. I started drinking, vaping, cigarettes. My parents pulled me out and they were like, you need to change your ways. Like, you need to change. You need to be better, or, we don't know what we're gonna do.
Once I made some unhealthy friendships, and it went downhill very fast. Like, I started having inappropriate relationships. I depended on substances. I struggled with self-harm and eating disorders. When I first got here, I did not think I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was in the right and that everyone else was against me. But I think a couple months into the program, I started to realize that there was something wrong. I remember I went to a church service and I would always sit down because I didn't want anything to do with God. I kind of just broke down, and I felt like it kind of hit me all at once, and I was like, this isn't right. Like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. And I think once I realized that I needed God, then that helped me to see all the things that I was doing wrong and what I needed help in.
In 2017, our middle daughter attended here and graduated from the program. It was one of the toughest choices we've ever made. On the flip side, it's also one of the biggest blessings.
I think that what Teen Challenge and then the leadership group here has done is put those girls in a position that can't go back to their situation and give them the light and the strength that they need to fulfill whatever it is they're going to fulfill.
I think definitely I grew and I changed and I matured in areas that I didn't really think I would be mature in. Honestly, throughout the whole time that I was living my life for myself and for the world, I knew consistently God was pursuing me. So I grew up in a Christian home, so I had that spiritual foundation and I knew all this stuff in my head, and I got rebaptized in the program actually at Spiritual Emphasis.
This is a personal relationship with Jesus because it is a God-based program. If your foundation is built on God, then man, there's nothing you can do. And we're seeing some of the fruit from the girls who finished our program. When they came to us, they were broken. We were their fifth placement, fifth program, 3 suicide attempts on 14, 15 different medications. And now they're getting married. Now they're graduating college, having their first kids, their second kids. And we're just getting to see some of these the long-term effects.
I think that going through the Teen Challenge process, it not only helped our daughter, but it also helped us grow together.
Once you've changed, you have true joy, and it's so much worth it. Healing your relationships with your family, finding healthy relationships with friends, and just having all of that combination together is just so good. I wouldn't choose to go back to my life any day. I would not trade anything for it because I love my life now. I love having that. I'm strong relationships with Hannah and my friends that I've made here and with the staff and my family. It's just so amazing and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I think that it's a difficult journey and it doesn't seem worth it all the time, but in the end, once you've made it and once you've finished it, then it's so worth it.
This is what you're here for. And yes, though it may feel like you're stuck, you are moving forward, you are growing, and you are changing, you're maturing in ways that may not seem like you are now, but looking back, you can be like, that was what it was worth. That was what I did it for.
Thank you to those of you who support our girls out in Boise. 2020 was one of the hardest years that we have lived through. I know for me, I don't know where I would be if it weren't for my recovery or my relationship with Jesus. Because of that foundation, I have been able to stay true to who I am and to who He wants me to be. We may not know what the next 12 months will bring, but we do know that we will still be here. Our doors will still be open and we will still be putting hope within reach. I am personally asking you if you will come alongside us in our efforts and partner with us, putting hope within reach. As you watch this next segment, take a moment and pray and ask God how He would have you partner with us, how He would have you give to this ministry in support of our efforts. Thank you.
My soul is cold and hopeless, dead in the grave.
Isn't it amazing to see transformation on people's faces when they encounter Jesus? I hope you took a moment to pray and ask God how you can partner with us. Feel free to pause this video and make a donation now. You can give online, you can mail a check, you can sponsor a student, go to our auction and make a bid on one of those incredible items. The auction will be live until Sunday night. Feel free to get in touch with one of our campuses and see if you can be a volunteer and be a part of the miracles that are happening at our campuses each and every day.
My name's Randall Wilbur,
And I'm Clarissa Wilbur.
and I'm the director of the men's program here in Billings, Montana. Yeah, so I would say my story, probably a lot like other people that have struggled with addiction. I was raised in a good home in western Colorado. It's where I grew up. We went to church when I was a kid, pretty much anytime the doors were open. My drug use started fairly innocently. It started off kind of just more partying, wanting to have fun with your buddies, raise some heck on the weekends or whatever. It just didn't stay that fun, innocent kind of thing. It morphed into all-consuming, addiction, and just that lifestyle, everything that comes along with it. And it ruined my life. I ended up dropping out of high school. I ended up, of my own doing, but choosing to be homeless, jumping around, living with different people, whoever would take me. And I was in and out of trouble with the law. And by the age of 19, I had really made a mess of my life in a way bad way. And I didn't know really what to do. Yeah, so I remember just at one point in time coming down, not having slept in weeks, and my whole body hurt coming down off of meth. And I called my mom and I asked her, "Mom, will you help me? I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore." I told her if I don't get out of Montrose, I'm not going to make it. And so she flew me down to College Station, Texas, to my grandparents' house, and I stayed with them until a spot at Teen Challenge there in Oklahoma opened up. And on November 9th, 2004, that was my first day as a student at Teen Challenge of Oklahoma. When I got to Teen Challenge initially, I hated it. And I really thought that I knew my life needed to change, but I had no interest in giving my life to Christ. But I knew I needed to change, and so I just stayed there. And at some point in time, God really got a hold of me. And I remember just repenting, and Jesus became so real to me that I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And then I felt kind of God's call to go into full-time ministry, and I went to Southwestern Assembly of God University down in Texas, and that's where I met my wife, Clarissa.
So I had a friend who we had just become really close, and she was actually looking for a roommate. And it was actually in the dorm that Randall was an RA in. Lo and behold, the next semester I moved into that dorm, and we just began to hang out just as a group in the lobby, and we'd go play sand volleyball, and the rest is history.
So Clarissa and I ended up getting married. Went and did a few different things. We were at Teen Challenge. We moved to Wyoming for a little while, helped plant a church. All the while, have this kind of lying dormant desire in my heart. I wanted to start a teen challenge in an area of the country that didn't have one. I remember listening to a leadership podcast by a pastor up here in Montana was being interviewed who had planted different campuses across the state. And it was like just the Lord and just this fire inside my heart. When I was listening to him, I thought, if he did that with churches in Montana, why can't I do that with a teen challenge? So since we moved here to Billings, Montana, it's been pretty phenomenal to watch God provide for us. We have a staff in place. We've got 7 students already, and the housing that we have, we've got a beautiful 7-bedroom, 4-bath facility with the capacity to have about 12 students. So we're already over at half capacity, and I think that just goes to show you the great need that's here in Montana, and just what God is doing to help put hope within reach of every addict.
You may know Kirk Cameron from his 80s show Growing Pains, from the Left Behind series or even Fireproof. But where Kirk Cameron's main passion lies is in ministry. He is on fire for Jesus, and he is coming to us with an inspiring message of hope and purpose. Take a look.
Hey everybody, this is Kirk Cameron. I hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful rainy day here in Southern California, and I'm so honored to be joining you today for this gathering and to celebrate all that Teen Challenge has done in your life and in the lives of people that you know. I know people who have been deeply impacted, lives have been turned around and transformed by the power of God working through Teen Challenge. And I understand that addiction is a major issue for many, many, many of us, and whether that's substance abuse and addiction with drugs or alcohol, or it may be abusive relationship addiction. There may be all kinds of forms and types of addictions that we can be trapped in. And in my business in Hollywood, there's lots of substance abuse, but there's also addictions to other kinds of things. People tend to be addicted with the self-inflating pride and the approval of other people, the applause of audiences, wanting to be liked and accepted, that it drives them absolutely crazy. And whether you're an approval addict or a heroin addict or an alcohol addict, addictions, I know, are prisons that keep us locked up and prevent us from living out the life that God designed and created us to live. I believe with all my heart that God made each one of us on purpose for a purpose. But when we're locked in those prisons, we've got to have the right perspective if we're ever going to survive, and if we're ever going to have the doors thrown open and be able to come out and be free. I think of the Bible and I think of the Apostle Paul and Silas. One of the most moving scenes in the entire New Testament is when they were bloodied and their backs beaten, exhausted, sweaty, thrown into a jail cell. And by midnight, they burst out in praise songs to God. And through their praying and through their praising, through the power of God working in their heart, the walls began to shake. The music was probably the most beautiful sound any other cellmate had ever heard. Regardless of how well they sang, maybe they sounded like roosters with laryngitis, I don't know. But they had a song of hope that was inside of their heart, a song of thankfulness to God. Even though they were in prison. It would have been so easy to just hang their head and begin to say, oh, look at all of my problems, but they didn't. They praised God. The walls shook and the doors flew open and they walked out and they were free. I think of my life that way. I think of your life that way. Can you not think of those prisons that poor choices in the past, selfish decisions, put you in? And do you not have reasons to give praise and thanks to God? Even during those midnight hours when you're worried, when you're doubting God's goodness, when you're wondering if he's asleep or does he still have his hands on the wheel? Is he paying attention to the circumstances of your life? And yes, he is. And he promises us that he made us on purpose for a purpose, and you have a song inside of your heart, and so do I, and it's a song of hope. And God is sovereign. That means he's in control. He's the blessed controller of all things, and he's given us everything that we need to prosper and to accomplish the task that he's given us. And I know for me, the first step in that is taking a personal inventory of my heart and dealing with the snakes and the spiders and the demons that keep me wrapped up in pride and selfishness and result in pain and shame and guilt. And when I confess that sin to him and I put my faith in the one who bled and died for me on the cross, it sets me free. And it brings me to life. and I can step out of any prison that I've put myself in. And so can you, and many of you have. And so I join you in thanking Teen Challenge. I join you in praising God for his power working through them to transform people's lives. Thanks for letting me be a small part of this celebration with you. Appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how more and more lives are going to be transformed and what you're going to do with them. God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. A special thanks to Kirk Cameron, Doxa Worship, everyone who shared their powerful testimonies. I want to remind you that the auction will be open until Sunday night, so please take a look and see if there are some items you want to bid on. Make a donation and reach out to your campuses and see how you can get involved. Have a great night.